Hey guys, tonight we travel deep into the ancient rainforests of Central America to uncover one of history's greatest mysteries, the Great Maya Collapse. What really happened to the powerful Maya civilization? How did enormous cities filled with temples, kings, priests, warriors, and millions of people slowly disappear beneath the jungle? And why did one of the most advanced civilizations in the ancient world suddenly begin collapsing into silence? Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy slow, relaxing, dark history documentaries designed for sleep and late-night listening. And while you settle in for tonight's journey, let me know in the comments where in the world you're watching this video from tonight. Now dim the lights, get comfortable, and let the sound of the ancient jungle slowly carry you back into the mysterious world of the Maya civilization. The cities of stone and jungle. Long before European ships crossed the Atlantic Ocean, long before medieval castles rose across Europe, and long before modern nations covered the lands of Central America, the Maya civilization already stood deep within the endless rainforests of the ancient world. Their cities rose above thick jungle canopies like islands of stone surrounded by green wilderness. Massive pyramids climbed toward the sky. Temple stairways stretched upward through humid mist, and enormous carved palaces stood silently beneath the burning tropical sun. Tonight the jungle feels alive. Warm rain falls softly across dense forests, filled with strange sounds echoing through the darkness. Insects hum endlessly beneath the trees. Monkeys move through the branches high above the forest floor, and somewhere far beyond the shadows of the jungle, a great Maya city glows beneath torchlight and moonlight. The Maya civilization was not a single kingdom. It was a vast network of powerful city-states spread across modern-day Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, and El Salvador. Each city ruled its own territory. Each king fought for power, prestige, and survival. And together, these cities formed one of the most intelligent and mysterious civilizations in human history. The Maya built enormous pyramids without metal tools. They studied astronomy with astonishing accuracy. They created one of the world's most advanced writing systems, and they developed detailed calendars capable of tracking time far beyond ordinary human life. Yet despite all their achievements, something terrible eventually began happening. The great cities slowly emptied, the pyramids fell silent, and millions of people disappeared from the jungle world they once controlled. Tonight, however, the civilization still thrives. Inside one enormous Maya city, torches burn beside stone temples, while priests move through crowded ceremonial plazas beneath the night sky. The air smells of rain, wet stone smoke, and tropical flowers drifting through the warm darkness. Families sleep inside homes built from wood and limestone. Merchants carry goods through crowded markets during daylight hours, and rulers inside massive palaces plan wars, alliances, and sacred rituals beneath painted walls decorated with images of gods and kings. Life inside Maya cities could feel both beautiful and terrifying. The jungle itself constantly surrounded human civilization. Wild animals moved through nearby forests. Storms flooded the land during rainy seasons, and disease spread easily through crowded tropical settlements. Yet the Maya adapted to this difficult environment with extraordinary intelligence. They built reservoirs to collect rainwater, they created advanced farming systems, and they transformed sections of the jungle into thriving urban worlds filled with millions of people. Tonight, one young Maya scribe sits quietly beside a torch inside a palace chamber. His hands carefully carve symbols into bark paper beneath flickering orange light. These symbols record royal histories, wars, religious ceremonies, and the movements of the stars above the jungle sky. The Maya believed time itself carried sacred meaning. Every cycle of the moon, every movement of Venus, and every passing year connected directly to the gods. Astronomy became deeply important throughout Maya society. Priests spent years studying the heavens from the tops of temple pyramids rising high above the jungle canopy. At night, the sky above the ancient Maya world looked extraordinary. Without modern cities or electric lights, the stars stretched endlessly across the darkness with stunning clarity. The Milky Way glowed brightly above the rainforest. Planets moved visibly through the night sky, and eclipses filled entire cities with fear, wonder, and religious significance. The Maya carefully tracked these celestial events because they believed cosmic balance controlled human destiny. Kings depended heavily upon priests capable of interpreting signs from the heavens. A successful ruler maintained harmony between the gods, nature, and society itself. If drought arrived, if crops failed, or if war devastated the people, many believed divine balance had been broken. This belief placed enormous pressure upon Maya rulers throughout their civilization. Tonight, the humid jungle air feels heavy beneath the moonlight. Rainwater drips slowly from giant leaves surrounding the city. Torches flicker beside enormous temple stairways. And somewhere within the sacred ceremonial center, priests prepare rituals designed to honor ancient gods believed to control rain harvests, life and death. Religion shaped nearly every part of Maya society. Ceremonies filled the calendar throughout the year. Offerings were made constantly. Music echoed through temple courtyards during sacred festivals, and blood rituals became deeply connected to spiritual beliefs about sacrifice and cosmic order. The Maya world often balanced between beauty and fear. Their cities were magnificent. But survival inside the tropical environment remained difficult and uncertain. A single drought could threaten food supplies across entire regions. War between rival city-states constantly created instability, and rulers needed to maintain both political and spiritual authority over growing populations spread across the jungle world. Tonight, merchants arriving from distant territories enter the city carrying jade obsidian, cacao feathers, and woven cloth gathered through vast trade networks stretching across Mesoamerica. Markets overflow with movement and noise during daylight hours. But now, beneath the warm night sky, most ordinary citizens sleep quietly, while the jungle hums endlessly beyond the city walls. The smell of smoke rises softly from cooking fires fading slowly into darkness. Somewhere in the distance, a jaguar growls deep within the forest, and atop the highest pyramid, priests continue watching the stars move silently across the heavens. For centuries, the Maya civilization continued growing stronger. Cities expanded deeper into the rainforest. Kings built larger monuments, and populations increased across the region. From a distance, the Maya world may have appeared unstoppable, yet hidden beneath the beauty and intelligence of this civilization, small cracks had already begun forming. The forests surrounding the cities slowly disappeared as more land was cleared for farming and construction. Competition between rulers intensified year after year, and climate patterns across the region gradually became more unstable. But tonight, none of those dangers feel fully visible yet. The great Maya cities still glow beneath the tropical darkness, like powerful islands of civilization surrounded by endless jungle. Children sleep safely beside families inside crowded neighborhoods. Priests continue studying sacred calendars. Warriors guard temple entrances beneath torchlight, and kings rest inside enormous palace chambers decorated with images celebrating their divine power. The civilization still breathes with strength and confidence. No one yet fully understands how fragile everything has become. Outside the city walls, however, the jungle watches silently. Ancient trees move gently beneath warm night winds. Rain clouds gather slowly beyond the horizon. And somewhere hidden within the endless darkness of the rainforest, the first quiet signs of collapse have already begun. Tonight, the jungle air feels warmer than before. Heavy clouds drift slowly across the moon above the ancient Maya world. The sound of insects fills the humid darkness surrounding the great stone cities, and deep within the rainforest torchlight still glows across towering pyramids rising above the trees like mountains built by human hands. Inside the city, the people continue living as though their civilization will last forever. Merchants prepare for tomorrow's crowded markets. Farmers sleep after long days working the fields beyond the city walls. Priests continue studying sacred calendars beneath candlelight and painted temple ceilings, and inside massive palace chambers, Maya kings quietly plan wars, alliances, ceremonies, and displays of power designed to strengthen their rule over the jungle world. The Maya civilization depended heavily upon powerful rulers. These kings were not viewed as ordinary human beings. Many believed they carried divine authority given directly by the gods. A king acted as the bridge between heaven-earth nature and society itself. If the crops grew well, if the rains arrived on time, and if the city remained prosperous. The ruler appeared favoured by sacred forces beyond human understanding. But if drought came, if war destroyed villages, or if famine spread across the land, the king's power could quickly become fragile. Tonight, one powerful Maya ruler stands silently atop a temple pyramid, overlooking his city beneath the warm tropical night. Torchlight flickers across carved stone walls surrounding the ceremonial plaza below. The city stretches outward into the darkness, filled with homes, markets, courtyards, and narrow roads disappearing into the jungle. Thousands of people sleep beneath his rule tonight. And beyond the forests, rival kingdoms quietly grow stronger with each passing year. The world of the Maya was deeply competitive. City-states constantly fought each other for territory, prestige, resources, and political dominance. Wars between kingdoms became common throughout Maya history. Some conflicts lasted only weeks. Others continued for generations. Captured rulers were sometimes humiliated, imprisoned, or sacrificed during public ceremonies, meant to display the strength of victorious kings. For ordinary people, these wars brought fear, uncertainty, and suffering. Yet for rulers, military success became necessary for survival. A weak king risked losing everything. Tonight, inside the palace, musicians play soft rhythms during a royal gathering illuminated by torchlight and burning incense. The air smells of smoke flowers, sweat, and damp stone after evening rain. Nobles dressed in colourful feathered clothing speak quietly beside painted walls covered with scenes of gods, warriors, and royal ancestors. Gold did not dominate Maya society the way many modern people imagine. Instead, jade, precious feathers, obsidian, and rare ceremonial objects carried enormous value. Status and sacred symbolism mattered deeply throughout elite culture. The king himself wears elaborate decorations crafted from jade and bright quetzal feathers gathered through vast trade networks across Mesoamerica. His appearance alone demonstrates power. Every movement inside the palace follows ritual and tradition carefully preserved through generations. Yet beneath the beauty of royal life, tension constantly grows. Rival kingdoms threaten nearby territories. Population continues increasing across the region, and the enormous demands of maintaining giant cities place growing pressure upon the environment surrounding them. The Maya world often looked stable from the outside, but internally many cities balanced upon fragile systems requiring constant control and organization. Tonight the palace scribes continue recording royal victories beneath flickering torchlight. Every battle won by the king becomes carved into stone monuments placed throughout the city. These monuments celebrate power, divine authority, and military dominance. The Maya believed rulers needed to demonstrate strength constantly. Public ceremonies became enormous performances designed to convince the population that cosmic order remained secure beneath royal leadership. Religion, politics, and fear blended together throughout Maya society. The king could not simply rule through laws or armies alone. He needed spiritual legitimacy. The people believed the gods controlled rain harvest, disease, fertility, and survival itself. Therefore, rulers had to appear connected directly to sacred power. This created enormous pressure during times of environmental crisis. If crops failed repeatedly, many people questioned whether the gods still supported their rulers. Tonight, however, the city still appears prosperous. Markets overflow during daylight hours. Temples remain crowded during ceremonies, and construction workers continue expanding monuments beneath the burning tropical sun. From a distance, the civilization still seems unstoppable. Yet the forests surrounding the cities tell another story. More and more trees disappear every year. Large populations require enormous amounts of wood for cooking, building fires, pottery production, and temple construction. The jungle slowly retreats away from expanding cities. Animals once common near settlements become harder to find, and the land itself begins changing beneath centuries of human pressure. The Maya accomplished extraordinary engineering despite difficult environmental conditions. They built roads connecting distant cities through dense rainforest. They created water reservoirs capable of supporting huge urban populations, and they developed farming systems designed to maximize food production within tropical landscapes. But maintaining such large civilizations required constant balance. A few years of environmental instability could create dangerous consequences very quickly. Tonight, outside the city walls, farmers sleep inside simple homes, surrounded by maize fields stretching through humid darkness. These ordinary people form the true foundation of Maya civilization. Without successful harvests, the great temples, palaces, and royal ceremonies could not survive. Every city depended entirely upon food production from surrounding lands. If farming weakened, everything else eventually weakened too. Yet the ruling elite often focused more heavily upon warfare, religious ceremonies, and monument building than long-term environmental sustainability. Kings competed to build larger pyramids and greater monuments than rival cities. Each ruler wanted to leave behind visible proof of divine greatness. Stone cities expanded deeper into landscapes already struggling beneath growing populations. The pressure upon the natural world increased slowly over generations, almost invisibly at first. Tonight, clouds move silently across the stars above the jungle. Warm rain begins falling lightly against the stone rooftops of the city. The sound echoes softly through palace courtyards illuminated by torchlight. Priests interpret the rainfall as a blessing from the gods. Farmers welcome moisture for future harvests. And the king watches the storm from beneath carved palace archways, while distant thunder rolls across the rainforest. The Maya depended heavily upon stable rainfall, because many regions lacked large rivers capable of supporting huge populations year-round. Water collection systems became essential for survival. Reservoirs stored rainwater during wet seasons for use during dry periods. If rainfall patterns changed significantly, entire cities could face disaster. Tonight, however, no one fully understands how dangerous the future may become. The civilization still shines brightly beneath the tropical storm. Inside ceremonial temples, priests burn incense before sacred images, while chanting prayers deep into the night. The smell of copal resin drifts through humid air, mixing with smoke and rain. Somewhere nearby, musicians perform rhythms using drums, flutes, and shell trumpets during religious ceremonies honoring ancient gods. The Maya world feels alive with movement, sound, belief, and power. But beneath that power, fear quietly survives. Rulers fear rebellion, farmers fear drought, priests fear divine anger, and ordinary families fear hunger, sickness, war, and the unpredictable forces of nature surrounding their fragile lives. The jungle itself always remains nearby, watching silently beyond the city lights. During daylight hours, the rainforest appears beautiful, filled with color, movement, and life. But at night, the jungle feels ancient, mysterious, and dangerous. Jaguar cries echo through distant darkness. Snakes move beneath wet leaves, and enormous trees tower above hidden ruins left behind by older, forgotten settlements, swallowed slowly by nature. Even before the Great Collapse began, the Maya already understood one frightening truth. Cities could disappear, civilizations could fail, the jungle eventually reclaimed everything. Tonight, one elderly priest studies ancient calendar symbols carved into stone beneath dim torchlight. His tired eyes follow complex cycles measuring years, centuries, and cosmic ages beyond ordinary human understanding. The Maya viewed time differently than many civilizations. History moved in repeating cycles rather than straight lines. Creation, destruction, rebirth, and collapse formed part of the natural order of existence itself. Perhaps somewhere deep within those sacred calculations, some priests already sensed danger approaching slowly through the future. The rain grows heavier now outside the palace walls. Water pours down stone stairways illuminated by flickering torches struggling against the storm. The city continues sleeping beneath thunder clouds rolling across the jungle sky. Children dream quietly beside families. Warriors rest before future battles. And kings sleep inside decorated chambers believing their power will endure forever. But hidden beneath the sound of rainfall, another quieter truth continues growing. The forests weaken. The land changes. The climate shifts slowly beyond human control. And somewhere within the endless jungle darkness, the first shadows of the great Maya collapse move silently closer toward the civilization that still believes itself eternal. Tonight the rain has finally stopped. Warm mist rises slowly from the rainforest floor beneath the pale glow of moonlight. Water drips softly from giant jungle leaves surrounding the great Maya city. And deep within the humid darkness, thousands of insects continue humming endlessly beneath the towering trees. The storm has left the city shining beneath silver light. Stone pyramids glisten with rainwater. Temple stairways reflect the moon like wet mirrors stretching toward the heavens, and smoke from cooking fires drifts slowly upward into the night sky above the jungle canopy. From a distance, the city still appears magnificent, powerful, alive. But hidden beneath its beauty, the natural world surrounding the Maya civilization has begun changing in dangerous ways. For centuries, the Maya expanded deeper into the forests of Central America. More cities appeared across the landscape, more farmland replaced jungle, and larger populations demanded increasing amounts of food, water, wood, and resources every year. At first, the rainforest seemed endless. The Maya world felt abundant beyond imagination. Massive trees covered the land in every direction. Wildlife thrived throughout the forests. Rain arrived season after season, and the civilization continued growing stronger beneath the tropical sun. But over time, the balance between nature and human civilization slowly weakened. Tonight, outside the city walls, farmers work late beneath torchlight repairing damaged fields after the storm. The soil has become thinner than it once was. Certain crops no longer grow as easily, and each year more forest must be cleared to feed expanding populations. The pressure upon the land increases silently generation after generation. Most ordinary people do not yet fully understand the danger. They only notice small changes: hotter, dry seasons, strange weather patterns, poor harvests in certain regions. But no one yet imagines these small warnings may eventually destroy entire cities. The Maya civilization depended heavily upon environmental stability. Without reliable rainfall, crops failed quickly beneath the tropical heat. Without fertile soil, food production weakened. And without healthy forests, the delicate system supporting millions of people slowly began collapsing beneath invisible pressure. Tonight, one elderly farmer walks quietly through maize fields beyond the city, while moonlight shines across damp earth still wet from rain. His family has worked these lands for generations. He remembers seasons when harvests were stronger, when rivers carried more water, and when nearby forests stretched farther toward the horizon. Now, however, the land feels different. The jungle retreats farther each year. The soil dries more quickly beneath the sun, and strange droughts sometimes arrive unexpectedly across the region. Still, the great city continues expanding despite these warnings. Construction workers labor constantly to build larger monuments for powerful rulers competing against rival kingdoms. Massive amounts of limestone are cut, transported, and shaped into pyramids, palaces, and temples. Producing lime plaster for these structures requires enormous quantities of wood, burned in giant fires. Entire forests disappear slowly beneath the demands of civilization. Tonight, smoke rises from huge construction fires, burning near the edges of the city. Workers continue preparing stone materials beneath torchlight even during the humid night. The smell of burning wood drifts heavily across the jungle air, and somewhere far beyond the glowing city, ancient trees fall beneath human tools, while darkness surrounds the rainforest. The Maya did not destroy their environment intentionally. They simply built a civilization so large and complex that the natural world struggled to support it forever. This pattern has repeated many times throughout human history. Powerful societies expand confidently while believing resources will never disappear. Then slowly, almost invisibly, the balance begins breaking apart. Tonight, priests inside the ceremonial temples continue praying for stable seasons and successful harvests. The people still trust the gods to maintain cosmic order. If drought arrives, they believe ritual sacrifices and sacred ceremonies may restore balance once again. Religion remains deeply connected to survival. The Maya world sees nature itself as spiritual. Rain gods control water, earth gods protect crops, and rulers claim divine responsibility for maintaining harmony between human civilization and the natural world. But what happens when the environment changes beyond human control? What happens when the rains stop arriving? Tonight the jungle feels strangely quiet after the storm. Clouds drift slowly across the stars above the city. The humid air presses heavily against the stone temples, and somewhere deep within the rainforest, abandoned ruins already sleep beneath tangled vines and enormous trees. Even during the height of Maya civilization, some cities had already been abandoned for various reasons: war, political instability, environmental problems, or shifting trade routes. The jungle reclaimed these forgotten places quickly. Stone stairways cracked beneath tree roots, temple walls disappeared beneath moss and vines, and wildlife returned silently to once crowded ceremonial plazas. The rainforest never truly forgot its power. Tonight, one young Maya messenger travels along a raised jungle road connecting distant cities beneath the moonlight. His journey takes him through forests alive with strange sounds echoing through the darkness. He passes ruined structures nearly swallowed by vegetation, old monuments carved with symbols from forgotten rulers now covered in moss and shadow. These abandoned places serve as quiet warnings hidden within the jungle world. Civilizations can disappear, power can fade, and nature eventually returns for everything. Still, the major cities continue functioning. Markets remain crowded during daylight hours. Kings wage wars against rival kingdoms, and priests study sacred calendars beneath painted temple ceilings. Life moves forward despite growing environmental strain. Most ordinary citizens focus only upon survival within the present moment, finding food, protecting family, and enduring the difficult realities of tropical life beneath powerful rulers and uncertain weather. Tonight, however, something feels different within the air itself. The heat remains unusually intense even after heavy rainfall. The reservoirs holding fresh water no longer appear as full as before, and farmers across distant regions quietly whisper about poor harvests spreading slowly through nearby territories. Small fears begin moving through the population like invisible shadows. Nothing catastrophic has happened yet, but confidence slowly weakens. The Maya civilization depended upon cooperation between rulers, priests, farmers, laborers, merchants, and the natural environment itself. If one part weakened, the entire system became vulnerable, and the larger the cities grew, the more fragile everything quietly became beneath the surface. Tonight, inside the royal palace, musicians perform softly, while nobles gather for another ceremonial feast illuminated by torchlight and burning incense. The rulers still celebrate victories, still build monuments, still believe their cities stand at the center of a powerful, eternal civilization blessed by divine forces. But outside the palace walls, ordinary people already feel the strain growing heavier year after year. Food becomes harder to produce, labor demands increase, and environmental stability begins slipping slowly away. The jungle watches silently beyond the city. Warm winds move through the trees beneath the moonlight. Mist drifts above hidden rivers, disappearing into darkness. And somewhere within the rainforest, distant thunder echoes once again across the horizon. The Maya world remains beautiful beyond imagination. The night air smells of wet stone flowers, smoke, and tropical earth after rain. Torchlight glows against towering pyramids rising above the jungle canopy. Sacred chants drift softly through ceremonial courtyards beneath the stars. And millions of people continue living beneath the belief that their civilization will endure forever. Yet history already moves quietly toward another future. A future filled with drought, hunger, war, fear, abandoned cities, and silence. Tonight, one priest climbs slowly to the top of a great pyramid, carrying offerings for the gods beneath flickering torchlight. From the summit, he gazes across the sleeping city, stretching through the humid darkness. The jungle surrounds everything endlessly beyond the glowing temples and palace walls. For a moment, the civilization still appears powerful enough to resist any danger, but beyond the horizon, the climate itself has already begun changing, and no king, priest, or warrior yet understands how devastating those changes will soon become for the ancient Maya world. Tonight, the jungle feels different. The air remains hot and strangely still beneath the dark sky. Very little wind moves through the trees surrounding the city. The usual sound of rainwater dripping from giant leaves has disappeared. And across the vast Maya world, the dry season has begun, lasting longer than anyone remembers. At first, the people do not panic. The Maya civilization has survived difficult seasons before. Storms, floods, wars, and periods of poor harvests had troubled cities throughout history. Most believe the rains will eventually return. The priests continue performing ceremonies for the gods. The kings organize rituals atop temple pyramids, and farmers work endlessly beneath the burning tropical sun, hoping the skies will finally open once again. But the rains do not come. Weeks pass slowly beneath unbearable heat, then months. The rivers begin shrinking. Reservoirs holding precious water fall lower each day, and deep cracks slowly appear across dry earth surrounding the once fertile farmlands beyond the cities. Tonight, one exhausted farmer kneels silently in a dying maize field beneath the fading orange light of sunset. The crops surrounding him look weak and pale beneath the heat. Dust rises from the dry ground whenever wind moves through the fields, and far beyond the horizon, enormous clouds gather before disappearing once again without releasing rain. The fear growing inside the Maya world now feels impossible to ignore. Without water, civilization itself begins weakening. The Maya depended entirely upon stable seasonal rainfall. Unlike civilizations built beside enormous rivers, the Maya world relied heavily upon collected rainwater, stored inside reservoirs and underground systems. When rainfall patterns changed, the consequences became catastrophic very quickly. Tonight, inside the city, ordinary families stand beside nearly empty water reservoirs beneath torchlight, waiting patiently for their turn to collect what little remains. The atmosphere feels tense. People speak more quietly than before. Children cry softly beneath the heat. And everywhere across the city, fear slowly spreads through conversations, whispers, and worried eyes. The kings understand the danger, but maintaining authority during crisis becomes increasingly difficult. For centuries, rulers claimed divine connection to the gods controlling nature and survival. Now, however, the skies remain empty, despite endless ceremonies, sacrifices, and prayers. Each failed harvest weakens public trust. Each dry season increases desperation, and each passing month pushes the civilization closer toward instability. Tonight, atop the great temple pyramid, priests burn incense beneath the stars while chanting sacred prayers to the rain gods. Smoke rises slowly into the hot, windless night. Torches flicker against carved stone walls, and below the ceremonial platform, thousands of people gather silently, hoping the rituals will finally bring rain back to the land. The atmosphere feels emotional, almost desperate. Many people still believe divine balance can be restored if the correct rituals are performed, if enough sacrifices are offered. perhaps the gods will once again show mercy upon the Maya world. But nature no longer responds the way it once did. The drought continues. The forests themselves begin changing beneath the endless heat. Leaves dry and fall from trees earlier than normal. Animals migrate deeper into remaining wetlands searching for water, and smaller rivers disappear completely beneath the tropical sun. The jungle that once felt endlessly alive now appears exhausted. Even the nights feel different, hotter, quieter, more unsettling beneath the dark skies. Tonight, one Maya messenger travels between distant cities carrying reports of worsening conditions spreading across the region. Everywhere the same stories repeat. Failed harvests, dry reservoirs, food shortages, and growing unrest among populations struggling to survive. Some cities begin fighting over remaining resources. Others attempt expanding farther into fragile lands already damaged by centuries of farming and deforestation. The pressure across the civilization grows heavier each season. Still, many rulers continue focusing upon war and monument building despite the crisis unfolding around them. Competition between kingdoms does not disappear during disaster. In some ways, it becomes even more dangerous. Weak cities become targets. Desperate rulers attempt military victories to maintain authority. And ordinary people suffer beneath both environmental collapse and political instability at the same time. Tonight, the great city still glows beneath torchlight after sunset. But something important has changed. The confidence once visible throughout the Maya world has begun fading. The markets no longer overflow with abundance. Food grows more expensive. The people appear thinner, and fear now follows nearly every conversation within crowded streets and ceremonial plazas. The smell of smoke still drifts through the city during evening hours. Priests still chant inside the temples, and kings still wear magnificent feathered clothing during public ceremonies. Yet beneath the beauty, survival itself becomes increasingly uncertain. One elderly woman quietly remembers wetter years from childhood, when rainstorms arrived regularly across the jungle world, when crops grew tall, when rivers flowed strongly, and when the reservoirs remained full even during dry seasons. Now, however, the land feels cursed beneath endless heat and dust. Tonight, clouds finally gather across the horizon after many weeks without rain. People stop working to watch the dark sky with silent hope. Children point upward excitedly. Farmers whisper prayers beneath exhausted breaths. And priests quickly prepare ceremonial offerings, believing the gods may finally answer. Thunder echoes softly in the distance. Wind moves briefly through the dry trees surrounding the city. But once again the storm disappears before reaching the land. No rain falls. Only silence returns beneath the burning sky. The emotional effect of repeated disappointment becomes devastating. Hope slowly transforms into exhaustion. Fear becomes anger. And trust in rulers, priests, and sacred systems weakens throughout the population. Some cities begin experiencing rebellion and political collapse as ordinary people lose faith in leaders unable to restore stability. Tonight, one Maya king sits alone inside his palace chamber, illuminated only by weak torchlight reflecting across painted walls. Outside, the city suffers beneath another failed season. Inside, however, the ruler struggles with fear he cannot publicly reveal. If the drought continues much longer, his authority may collapse completely. The people expect answers. The priests demand greater ceremonies. And rival kingdoms wait patiently for weakness to spread. The king himself may secretly wonder whether the gods have abandoned the Maya world entirely. Across the civilization, massive construction projects slowly begin stopping. There is less food available for labourers, less confidence in the future, and fewer resources remaining for giant monuments celebrating royal power. The great cities that once expanded endlessly now begin showing signs of strain and exhaustion. Nature itself has turned against them. Tonight, far beyond the ceremonial plazas, starving families quietly leave smaller settlements, searching for safer territories with more reliable water supplies. Some villages disappear completely, Others become overcrowded with refugees arriving from drought-damaged regions. Migration slowly spreads instability across the Maya world. The social order that once appeared powerful and permanent now weakens year after year beneath environmental pressure. The jungle, meanwhile, watches silently. Dry winds move through forests already damaged by centuries of human expansion. Animals gather desperately near shrinking water sources, and abandoned farmlands slowly crack beneath the endless heat. The Maya civilization had achieved astonishing greatness. Its cities rose above the rainforest like wonders of the ancient world. Its scholars studied the stars with extraordinary intelligence. Its rulers commanded millions. Yet none of that power could fully control the climate itself. Tonight the stars shine cold and clear above the sleeping city. No clouds move across the heavens. The reservoirs remain dangerously low. And somewhere within the darkness, hungry families pray quietly for rain that never arrives. The collapse has not fully happened yet. The temples still stand. The kings still rule, and the cities still breathe beneath the tropical night. But now the ancient Maya world has entered a dangerous new era, an era of drought, fear, hunger, and uncertainty. And with each passing season, the foundations of the civilization continue breaking apart beneath the endless dry sky. Tonight the jungle no longer feels peaceful. The warm wind moving through the forests carries dust instead of rain. The rivers have fallen lower than ever before, and across the Maya world hunger slowly spreads from village to village beneath the burning tropical heat. The drought has now lasted for years. Not days, not weeks, years. Entire generations begin growing up beneath skies that no longer bring reliable rain. The great reservoirs, once filled with fresh water, now appear shallow and muddy beneath the sunlight. Farmers stare helplessly across dying fields, and throughout the ancient cities fear grows stronger than faith. For centuries, Maya rulers promised divine balance between the gods, nature and civilization. Now, however, that sacred balance appears shattered. Tonight, one crowded marketplace inside the great city feels quieter than before. Food has become scarce. The merchants no longer display overflowing baskets of maize fruit and cacao beneath colourful woven cloth. Instead, worried families move silently between nearly empty market stalls, searching desperately for enough food to survive another week. Children appear thinner. The old and sick struggle beneath the endless heat, and whispers of anger slowly spread through the population. The kings can feel it. The priests can feel it. Even the soldiers guarding the palace gates understand the world is changing. And as resources disappear, competition between Maya cities becomes increasingly violent. War had always existed throughout Maya civilization, but now the conflicts grow far more desperate. Cities no longer fight only for prestige or royal glory. They fight for survival, for farmland, for water, for control over shrinking resources capable of supporting exhausted populations. Tonight torches burn across the walls of a fortified Maya city preparing for attack beneath the dark jungle sky. Warriors carrying spears and obsidian weapons move through the streets, while drums echo across the ceremonial plazas. The atmosphere feels tense and fearful. Messengers arriving from nearby territories bring reports of enemy armies marching through the rainforest toward the city. In earlier centuries, Maya warfare often focused upon capturing rulers and demonstrating power. Now, however, the violence becomes harsher. Entire communities suffer. Food supplies are destroyed, trade routes collapse, and refugees flee through the jungle searching for safety that grows harder to find each season. The civilization itself slowly transforms beneath the pressure of environmental disaster and endless conflict. Tonight, one young Maya warrior sits quietly beside a fire before battle. The glow of the flames reflects across exhausted eyes filled with fear hidden beneath discipline and ritual. He remembers childhood years when the city still felt prosperous, when the reservoirs remained full, and when the people believed the future would continue forever beneath the protection of the gods. Now, however, uncertainty follows every sunrise. The warrior understands something terrible is happening to the Maya world, even if he cannot fully explain it. Across the jungle, neighbouring kingdoms collapse one after another. Some cities become abandoned after famine and conflict destroy social order. Others continue fighting despite overwhelming hardship. And everywhere the forests slowly reclaim weakened settlements left behind by starving populations. The jungle waits patiently. Vines climb abandoned walls. Tree roots break ancient stone stairways apart, and silence returns gradually to once crowded ceremonial centres. Tonight, inside the royal palace, the king gathers advisors, priests and military leaders beneath flickering torchlight. The atmosphere inside the chamber feels heavy with anxiety. Maps carved onto bark paper cover the stone tables. Reports from distant territories describe rebellion, drought, migration, and war spreading across the region. The ruler faces impossible choices: protect the city, expand military campaigns, control the remaining food supplies, or attempt negotiations with rival kingdoms equally desperate for survival. But no solution feels strong enough anymore. The drought continues, destroying stability faster than leaders can respond. For ordinary people, life becomes increasingly brutal. Farmers already weakened by failed harvests now fear raids from enemy territories searching for food. Trade caravans moving through the jungle face constant danger from violence and collapsing political systems, and families begin abandoning traditional homes in desperate attempts to survive elsewhere. Tonight, one exhausted mother walks through the darkness, carrying a small child while following a group of refugees fleeing drought-damaged lands. The jungle around them feels endless beneath the moonlight. Insects hum through the warm night air. Branches crack beneath tired footsteps. And somewhere far behind them, smoke rises from villages already consumed by chaos and abandonment. The emotional world of the Maya civilization changes dramatically during these years. Fear replaces confidence. Suspicion replaces unity. And survival becomes more important than tradition, ceremony, or royal prestige. The temples still stand above the cities. Priests still perform rituals beneath sacred symbols. But fewer people truly believe the old systems can save them now. The gods remain silent beneath empty skies. Tonight, one priest climbs slowly to the top of a temple pyramid carrying offerings beneath torchlight. From the summit, he gazes across the city surrounded by darkness and drought-damaged forests. The once powerful reservoirs now appear dangerously low even from above. The people sleep uneasily beneath growing hunger, and distant fires burn across the horizon where war spreads through neighbouring territories. For the first time, the priest quietly wonders whether the civilization itself may already be dying. The Maya had built one of the most advanced societies in the ancient world. Their scholars understood astronomy, mathematics, and architecture with astonishing brilliance. Their cities rose magnificently above the rainforest. Their kings commanded enormous populations. Yet no civilization, regardless of intelligence or power, can survive forever once environmental collapse, political instability, and resource scarcity begin feeding into each other without control. Tonight, violent storms finally appear once again across the horizon after months of unbearable heat. Lightning flashes above the jungle, thunder shakes the night sky, and desperate citizens rush outside hoping heavy rainfall may finally end the suffering. But the storms bring little relief. The rain falls unevenly. Some regions flood suddenly while others remain dry. The climate itself has become unstable, unpredictable, and dangerous. Fields already weakened by drought now struggle beneath chaotic weather patterns, destroying whatever fragile balance remained. Inside the city, fear slowly transforms into exhaustion. The people no longer celebrate with the same energy. Markets close earlier. Public ceremonies attract smaller crowds, and the enormous construction projects once glorifying Maya rulers now stand unfinished beneath dust and silence. The civilization begins losing faith in its own future. Tonight, one elderly scribe carefully records the events unfolding around him, beneath dim candlelight inside a quiet palace chamber. His hands tremble slightly while carving symbols into bark paper. He documents famine, war, migration, and the weakening authority of kings unable to restore order. Perhaps he hopes future generations may someday understand what happened to the Maya world. Or perhaps he simply records history because it is the only purpose remaining in a civilization slowly collapsing around him. Outside the palace walls, the jungle continues breathing beneath the darkness. Warm wind moves through ancient trees. Animals wander near abandoned farms reclaimed slowly by vegetation, and vines begin climbing forgotten monuments, no longer maintained by exhausted populations struggling simply to survive. The rainforest does not mourn the fall of cities. Nature waits patiently through every rise and collapse of human civilization. Tonight, across the Maya world, countless ordinary people lie awake beneath the hot night air, wondering whether tomorrow will bring food safety, rain, or violence. Parents hold children close while listening to distant war drums echoing through the jungle darkness. Soldiers prepare for battles over shrinking resources. Priests continue praying to silent gods, and rulers desperately attempt holding together kingdoms already breaking apart beneath fear and environmental disaster. The Great Maya collapse no longer exists only as a distant possibility. It has already begun, slowly, quietly, and relentlessly. The cities still stand for now beneath the tropical night. The pyramids still rise above the forests, and sacred chants still echo through the temples after sunset. But beneath the surface, the civilization continues unraveling with each passing season. And somewhere deep within the endless rainforest, the jungle patiently waits for the final silence that will one day cover the abandoned Maya world forever. Tonight, the ancient city feels quieter than ever before. The ceremonial plazas, once crowded with merchants, priests, musicians, and nobles, now sit half-empty beneath the warm tropical night. Torchlight still flickers beside the temple stairways. Smoke still drifts slowly upward from scattered cooking fires. But the energy that once filled the Maya world has begun fading into exhaustion and fear. The drought continues, the wars continue, and now something even more dangerous slowly spreads across the civilization. Abandonment. Families begin leaving the great cities. At first, only a few disappear quietly into the jungle, searching for safer lands and reliable water sources. But as conditions worsen, larger groups follow. Entire neighborhoods slowly empty beneath the endless heat. Homes once filled with life now stand silent beneath gathering dust and darkness. Tonight, one exhausted family prepares to leave the city before sunrise. Inside their small limestone home, a mother wraps food carefully inside woven cloth, while her children sleep nearby after another hungry day. The father sharpens a simple stone blade beside weak candlelight, while listening to distant sounds echoing through the quiet streets outside. He never imagined abandoning the city where generations of his family once lived. Yet survival now matters more than tradition, more than loyalty to kings, more than faith in the future of the Maya world. Outside, the jungle waits beneath moonlight and humid wind, dangerous, uncertain, but perhaps still offering hope. The great Maya cities had once seemed eternal. Massive pyramids rose above dense forests like mountains of carved stone. Temple courtyards overflowed with ceremonies, music, and sacred rituals, and rulers commanded populations so large they transformed entire landscapes across Central America. Now, however, many of those same cities begin slowly collapsing into silence. Without enough food, water, and political stability, enormous urban populations become impossible to maintain. Trade routes weaken, construction projects stop completely, and public faith in leadership continues disappearing year after year. Tonight, one priest walks alone through an abandoned ceremonial plaza, illuminated only by pale moonlight reflecting across cracked stone surfaces. The silence feels unnatural. For most of his life, this place echoed constantly with voices, drums, chanting, and movement. Now vines slowly creep across stairways once swept clean every morning. Wind blows dust through empty courtyards, and the jungle itself seems to move closer each season, The rainforest never stops growing. Even while civilizations rise and fall, nature continues patiently reclaiming the land. Small plants emerge between cracks in stone roads. Roots spread beneath temple foundations, and abandoned homes quickly disappear beneath vegetation once human maintenance ends. The jungle waits for weakness, and now weakness spreads everywhere throughout the Maya world. Tonight, far beyond the city walls, refugees travel through dense rainforests beneath the stars, carrying what little remains of their lives. Children walk silently beside exhausted parents. Old people struggle across muddy jungle paths. And somewhere behind them, abandoned villages slowly vanish beneath darkness and vines. Some refugees move north toward regions less affected by drought. Others search for nearby water sources capable of supporting small communities away from collapsing cities. But no destination feels truly safe anymore. The crisis spreads too widely across the land. Inside remaining Maya kingdoms, rulers still attempt preserving authority. Some organize new building projects hoping to restore confidence among the people. Others increase religious ceremonies, desperately asking the gods for rain and stability. But ordinary citizens no longer trust these displays the way they once did. Too many promises have failed. Too many harvests have died beneath empty skies. Tonight, the king of one struggling city stands upon a palace balcony, watching scattered torchlights flicker across darkened neighborhoods below. Years earlier, the city glowed brightly deep into the night, filled with music markets, celebrations, and life. Now, entire districts sit abandoned beneath silence. Even the royal guards appear thinner, weaker, and exhausted after years of famine and war. The ruler understands a terrible truth he cannot publicly admit. The civilization itself may not survive. Across the Maya world, more cities begin collapsing completely. Some are destroyed through warfare. Others simply empty gradually until only priests and a few desperate families remain beside the temples. Eventually, even the rulers leave searching for safer territories elsewhere. And once human activity disappears, the jungle moves quickly. Rain and humidity weaken abandoned structures. Roots split apart ancient stone walls. Monkeys, birds, insects, and vines return to once crowded ceremonial centres. Within only a few generations, enormous cities can almost disappear beneath the rainforest canopy. Tonight, warm fog drifts through one abandoned Maya city hidden deep within the jungle. Moonlight shines faintly across enormous pyramids, now covered with moss and creeping vines. Tree roots break through cracked stairways once climbed by kings and priests during sacred ceremonies. The silence feels ancient. Only insects and distant animal cries echo through the darkness where thousands of people once lived. This scene will eventually repeat across much of the Maya world. The collapse does not happen in a single night. No giant explosion destroys the civilization instantly. Instead, the process unfolds slowly across decades and generations. Cities weaken, populations shrink, political systems fail. And gradually the jungle reclaims the landscape. Some Maya communities survive the collapse and continue living throughout the region. The people themselves do not vanish completely, but the great urban civilization that once dominated the rainforest begins disappearing beneath environmental disaster warfare and social breakdown. Tonight, one elderly woman sits beside a small fire outside a temporary jungle shelter, while listening to rain finally falling softly through the trees after weeks of unbearable heat. The sound feels emotional, almost painful after so many dry seasons. Yet even the returning rain cannot restore the old world anymore. Too much damage has already spread across the civilization. The great cities have weakened beyond repair. The systems supporting millions have collapsed. And trust in rulers, priests, and sacred order has shattered. The Maya world will never fully return to what it once was. Far away, abandoned temples continue standing silently beneath moonlight and jungle mist. Painted palace walls slowly fade beneath humidity and time. Stone monuments celebrating forgotten kings become covered with vines and shadow. And deep within the rainforest, nature patiently erases the memory of human greatness one season at a time. Tonight, a lone jaguar moves quietly through the ruins of a once powerful city beneath the darkness. The animal walks across ancient ceremonial plazas without fear. Tree branches sway gently above broken temples, and warm rainwater drips from giant leaves onto stone carvings, created centuries earlier by human hands now long vanished. The jungle has begun reclaiming its territory. For the ordinary people living through these years, the collapse feels confusing, terrifying, and deeply exhausting. No one fully understands the scale of what is happening. Families simply focus on survival day by day, finding food, finding water, protecting loved ones, and escaping violence spreading through weakened territories. History later remembers the mystery of the Great Maya collapse, but for those experiencing it, the reality feels far more human. Fear, hunger, migration, loneliness, and watching the familiar world slowly disappear around them. Tonight the final fires burn low inside another nearly abandoned city, while a few remaining priests continue performing rituals inside dark temple chambers. The sacred chants echo weakly through empty courtyards, where crowds once gathered beneath torchlight. Outside the walls, the jungle breathes endlessly beneath the warm night sky. The insects continue singing through the darkness. Mist rises slowly from the rainforest floor, and somewhere beyond the abandoned pyramids, new generations travel through the wilderness, searching for a future beyond the dying cities of the Maya world. The collapse continues, spreading quietly through the ancient civilization. And with every passing season, the silence grows deeper across the jungle ruins once filled with the power, glory and ambition of the great Maya civilization. Tonight, the rainforest feels endless beneath the dark sky. Warm mist drifts slowly between enormous trees rising above forgotten stone roads, hidden beneath vines and shadow. Insects hum softly through the humid darkness. Rainwater drips from giant leaves onto broken temple stairways. And somewhere far beyond the jungle canopy, the final abandoned cities of the Maya world slowly disappear beneath nature itself. The collapse is no longer coming, it has already happened. Across vast regions of Central America, the great urban civilization that once ruled the rainforest has fallen into silence. The kings are gone, the wars have ended. The crowded ceremonial plazas now sit empty beneath moonlight and moss, and the sacred temples, once glowing with torchlight, stand alone within the jungle, surrounded only by wind, rain, and darkness. Tonight, one abandoned Maya city sleeps beneath the stars exactly as it has for generations. The pyramids still rise above the trees like ancient mountains carved from stone. But no priests climb the stairways anymore. No music echoes through the courtyards. No merchants gather inside crowded markets. Nature itself has reclaimed the world once shaped by human ambition. Vines cover palace walls, roots break apart sacred monuments, and birds nest inside temple chambers where rulers once commanded millions. The silence feels almost unreal. For centuries, the Maya civilization stood among the most advanced societies on Earth. Their astronomers studied the heavens with astonishing precision. Their architects built magnificent cities deep within difficult tropical landscapes. Their scribes recorded history, mathematics, and sacred knowledge using one of the ancient world's greatest writing systems. And their rulers transformed the rainforest into a civilization filled with beauty, intelligence, ritual, and power. Yet even greatness cannot last forever. Tonight rain falls softly across the ruins while fog moves slowly through empty ceremonial plazas beneath the moonlight. The jungle smells of wet earth, flowers, moss and ancient stone after the storm. Somewhere nearby, a jaguar walks silently between broken walls already swallowed by vegetation. The rainforest no longer remembers the names of the kings who once ruled here. Nature does not preserve human glory forever. It simply continues moving forward beyond every civilization, every empire, and every age. The Great Maya collapse remains one of history's greatest mysteries because no single disaster caused it completely. The civilization did not vanish overnight. No enormous explosion destroyed the cities in one final moment. Instead, the collapse unfolded slowly across generations. Drought weakened food supplies. Deforestation damaged the environment. War spread between rival kingdoms. Political systems lost stability. And ordinary people eventually abandoned cities no longer capable of supporting life. The collapse came through exhaustion, through pressure, through systems slowly breaking apart beneath forces too large for any ruler to control. Tonight, one elderly traveller rests beside a small fire deep within the rainforest, while rain falls softly through the trees above. He belongs to one of the surviving Maya communities continuing life beyond the fallen cities, because the Maya people themselves never completely disappeared. Their descendants still live across Central America even today, carrying ancient traditions, languages, and memories into the modern world. What vanished was the great urban civilization, the enormous cities, the divine kingship, and the vast political systems that once dominated the jungle world. The traveller gazes silently into the fire while darkness surrounds the forest beyond the weak orange glow. Perhaps he remembers stories passed through generations about the old cities now sleeping beneath vines and shadow. Stories about magnificent pyramids, crowded markets, sacred ceremonies, and rulers who believed their civilization would last forever. Now, however, only ruins remain hidden beneath the rainforest. The emotional tragedy of the Maya collapse feels strangely familiar even today. Human civilizations often believe themselves permanent while ignoring fragile environmental balance beneath their success. Resources appear endless, expansion continues, and power grows stronger year after year. Yet nature always remains larger than human ambition. Climate changes, land weakens, political systems fracture, and slowly even the greatest civilizations can begin collapsing beneath pressures they fail to fully understand. Tonight thunder rolls softly across the distant jungle hills, while rain continues falling through the warm darkness. The abandoned temples glisten beneath moonlight, reflecting across wet stone surfaces untouched by human hands for centuries. Tree roots wrap around ancient carvings depicting forgotten rulers and sacred gods. And somewhere beneath layers of vines, dust and silence, entire histories remain buried within the rainforest floor. For generations after the collapse, many Maya cities simply vanished from memory. The jungle covered roads, temples and palaces so completely that later travellers often walked past enormous ruins without realizing ancient civilizations slept beneath the trees around them. Nature erased the visible signs of greatness, slowly, patiently, and almost completely. Only centuries later would explorers, archaeologists, and historians rediscover the lost cities hidden deep within the rainforest. Tonight, however, those discoveries still belong far in the future. The jungle remains quiet and untouched beneath the endless night. Inside one ruined temple, rainwater drips steadily through cracks in the ancient stone ceiling. Moonlight shines faintly across faded wall paintings still visible beneath moss and shadow. The artwork depicts kings, ceremonies, battles, and sacred rituals from a civilization already fading into legend. No one remains to interpret these stories now. Only silence answers the darkness. The Great Maya collapse reminds humanity of something deeply important. Civilizations are fragile. Even intelligent, powerful, advanced societies depend entirely upon balance between nature, leadership resources, and human cooperation. When enough pressure builds across those systems, collapse can arrive slowly, almost invisibly at first. Then suddenly, entire worlds disappear. Tonight, far beyond the ruins, surviving Maya communities continue adapting to life after collapse. Small villages remain active beside rivers and forests. Families grow crops within regions still capable of supporting life, and ancient traditions survive quietly despite the fall of the old cities. History often focuses only upon destruction, but survival also forms part of the story. The Maya people endured even after their greatest civilization weakened beneath drought, war, and environmental disaster. The rain begins slowing now across the jungle. Mist rises once again from the warm forest floor beneath the stars. The ruined pyramids stand motionless against the darkness like silent memories from another age. And somewhere within the endless rainforest, the final echoes of the ancient Maya world fade softly into the night. Tonight, the fire beside the elderly traveller burns lower beneath the humid air. Insects continue singing through the trees. The jungle breathes endlessly around the ruins. And above the forest canopy, the stars shine quietly over a civilization that once studied them with extraordinary wonder. Perhaps that is the strangest part of the Maya collapse. Not that the civilization disappeared, but that such greatness once existed at all beneath the deep rainforests of Central America. A world of stone pyramids, sacred astronomy, powerful kings, and millions of lives now hidden beneath vines, rain, and silence. The final embers beside the traveller slowly fade into darkness. The rainforest continues whispering softly beneath the night sky, and deep within the ancient jungle, the lost cities of the Maya world sleep peacefully beneath the endless sound of rain.